like a casting call straight out of The Apprentice. Potential cabinet picks are paraded before the cameras as the huge task of forming government takes place. Donald Trump has welcomed familiar faces, even former rivals.
Well, I think it's a mix of folks that he knows are quite loyal, but he obviously has widened the circle a great deal to bring in folks like, to even meet with Mitt Romney. I think says a lot about how willing he is to look at folks outside his circle.
So who are the people who'll be advising the president on how to shake up Washington and make America great again? Stephen Bannon, Donald Trump's incoming chief White House strategist, could be the driving force behind the wrecking ball. The 62-year-old is a US Navy veteran and former Goldman Sachs banker. He joined the Trump team in August, taking a leave of absence from his job as the executive chair of Breitbart, a controversial right-wing American news website that's been accused of cultivating misogynistic and racist views. He calls the website a platform for the alt-right.
The alt-right really, if anything, is the most extreme conservative viewpoint you can have about what the role of government should be and what the role of the United States should be in the global community. Breitbart and the content you see from it is a direct emanation of what Steve Bannon wants. And he really is at the top of the organizational chart in the Breitbart world. Well, I think Steve has said it best in his own words. He wants to completely blow up the political and media establishment.
The Alt-Right National Policy Institute gathered in Washington to celebrate Donald Trump's victory.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
This is part of the alt-right in action. At a meeting with New York Times staff, Donald Trump said the alt-right is not a group he wants to energise and that he would never have thought of hiring Steve Bannon if he thought he was a part of it. Steve Bannon has been quoted saying he's not a white nationalist, but instead an economic nationalist and has zero tolerance for racist or anti-Semitic views.
I don't think we can prosecute Steve Bannon because there's some crazy people that come to his website. I believe that we should look at what is in his heart and head, and I don't see any of those problems.
It's hard to know, what truly lies in someone's heart. What I do know is they recognize very quickly that there's certainly a high number of racist and white nationalists and homophobic and xenophobic people who read Breitbart.
We're not cloven hoof devils. We're not nativist, homophobic, racist, right? But they understand that we believe in what made this country great, and they believe it too.
Another familiar and controversial face on the campaign trail that'll be joining Donald Trump in the White House is retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. He'll be Trump's national security advisor, providing counsel on matters from the situation in Syria to hostility in the South China Sea. The three-star general was fired from the Defence Intelligence Agency in 2014, he believes for telling hard truths about the war on Islamic extremism.
He walks in with a great knowledge of the military complex, the intelligence complex, so I think he'll be, start far faster ahead of schedule than most people who come into NCA or NSA. So yeah, I think it's a good choice.
We are facing another ism, just like we face Nazism and fascism and imperialism and communism. This is Islamism, and it is a vicious cancer inside the body of 1.7 billion people on this planet, and it has to be excised.
I didn't see, Mike Flynn discriminating against people based on their faith. For example, I saw him interacting with Afghan government officials. On the other hand, I have seen him behave with a lot of arrogance toward almost anyone he didn't, see as being on his team.
After more than a decade working in Afghanistan, Sarah Shays is back home in Washington, D.C. From 2009 to 2011, she shared an office with Lieutenant General Flynn in Kabul while she was a civilian special advisor to the commander of the International Military Forces.
What was absolutely clear was he was brilliant at bringing in all kinds of information from all sorts of different sources. But he didn't seem to have the capacity to sort it properly or to derive consistent conclusions from all of this stuff he had jumbled up in his head.
Another key pick is veteran Senator Jeff Sessions for Attorney General, a position he could use to push the President-elect's hardline immigration agenda. He's well regarded in the Senate, but in 1986 he was denied a spot as a federal judge because of allegations he called African American rights groups un-American and joked that the Ku Klux Klan was okay until he discovered some of its members smoked marijuana.
I think that some of these groups are just automatically against any Republican. Jeff Sessions' record on race is pretty good. I mean, he desegregated the schools. He was against Wallace's segregation policies in the 60s.
Two of Donald Trump's choices are both from the swamp he's so keen to drain. Republican Chairman Reince Priebus will be his chief of staff, and he's nominated Congressman Mark Pompeo as the head of the CIA, a vocal critic of Hillary Clinton over the Benghazi attacks. Two women have been named for Trump's cabinet. Just 9 months ago, Mr. Trump said the people of South Carolina were embarrassed by their governor, Nikki Haley. Now he wants her to be the US ambassador to the UN, despite her limited foreign policy experience. He's asked fellow billionaire and former Michigan Republican Party chair Betsy DeVos to be Education Secretary. For the past 8 months in a quiet but busy office in downtown DC, a bipartisan team has been helping both the Trump and Clinton camps to develop their transition strategies.
Transition is a period of vulnerability for the country. The White House is virtually empty at inauguration. They've literally the night before removed all the original files. They've wiped all the computers, and so you're arriving with virtually nothing.
Despite the need to act quickly, the pressure to do it right can't be underestimated.
The transition is the only time these incoming teams can take a step back to understand how they want their government to work, because once you're in office, you can't fix that airplane while you're flying it. It's too difficult. Too much is coming at you.